Folks, let's get right into it. So we talked yesterday about how the Justice Department and Durham under him was probably going to be making this indictment of Michael Sussman. Who is Michael Sussman? What is this all about? What does it have to do with the Clintons? Don't worry, I'm here to help you. We're going to do 2 full segments on this. Sussman was a lawyer for Perkins Coie. Perkins Coie is the top Democrat law firm. They represented Hillary. But I want to take everybody back to 2016 to understand why this is so big. Before the dossier, remember the dossier comes out January 2017. But before the dossier, they needed a way to prove that there was some nefarious connection between Trump and Putin. And that was the Alfa Bank story. Listen to how big this got. Here's a clip from CNN.
CNN reported that the FBI is still investigating what's being described as this odd link between a computer servers at a Russian bank called Alfa Bank and a server over that dealt with Trump, the Trump organization, although that server was outside Trump Tower, wasn't a Trump Tower. The FBI has refused all comment. The Trump organization and the Alfa Bank, they've denied any contact. The allegation originally, as you well remember, came up during the presidential campaign in an article in Slate magazine. It was widely dismissed at the time. At the time when you were working for the Clinton campaign, you issued a statement calling it a secret hotline between Trump and Russia and asking that it be investigated. How surprised were you to hear last week that this investigation is still ongoing?
I wasn't surprised, because what we learned during the campaign was that very serious computer science experts, people who work closely with the United States government, had uncovered this secret hotline between the Alfa Bank, the Russian bank, and the Trump organization. Now, of course, we didn't know for sure if in fact that were the case, but we knew that it should be investigated. And we knew that given how serious these computer scientists were, they weren't just making up crackpot theories. So it wasn't surprising to learn that even as of last week, the FBI is still looking into this.
And do you have any idea what they're looking for?
I don't. Of course, I don't have a line into the FBI on this, but what I know based on public reporting is that there is very unusual server activity between this Russian bank and the Trump organization, which suggests contact that took place over the course of the campaign. Getting answers to what the nature of that contact was and why they were going to lengths to hide it, to encrypt it, is really important, and the American people deserve answers.
You hear that? Very serious computer scientists! Yeah, okay, Jake Sullivan. By the way, that's Jake Sullivan, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what job he has now? Now, Jake Sullivan is the National Security Advisor for Joe Biden, the guy who's in charge of things like Afghanistan, things like the border, nothing too serious, nothing too important. Literally, that's who we got. That's the guy we got in charge. So when you see everything falling apart right now, understand, this is who we have in charge of these things. That's number one. Here's number two. Look at this tweet from Hillary Clinton back then, right? Hillary Clinton posts up. Computer scientists, again, same phrase, computer scientists have apparently uncovered a covert server linking the Trump organization to a Russian-based bank. And look who wrote the statement. Just look, I just go look. I hope the guys just zoom in on this. Statement from Jake Sullivan on new report exposing Trump's secret line of communication to Russia. Jake Sullivan, we got you, buddy. We got you. Did you honestly think that PUSA would not save the receipts after all these years, Jake? I told you I was coming for you. And now here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, Jake Sullivan was part of a massive, not just political conspiracy, but now we know criminal conspiracy to lie to the FBI in order to start an investigation that included surveillance of the Trump campaign under false pretenses. Jake Sullivan needs to be called. He needs to either testify or potentially the grand jury needs to look at the National Security Advisor. But they say, oh, but Jack, you can't charge a National Security Advisor. Really? You mean like General Flynn? Because they didn't have any problem charging him when he was, oh, what was he for Trump again? Let me just check. Oh, right, the National Security Advisor. So, Jake Sullivan, let's go, buddy. Show us what you got. What did you know about this? When did you know it? Did you tell that lawyer to lie to the FBI and make these false claims? Stay tuned, segment 2. We're going to continue this because the story is just that big. All right, so while Jake Sullivan is going to be having his rough night of sleep because he didn't go to mypillow.com and use promo code POSO for up to 66% off. Jake, why didn't you do it? Jake, you're going to have to now. You only have a few nights left. I don't know if they'll let you take your MyPillow with you. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. But I want to take people back a little bit more because let's go to somebody else who deserves our attention. We have a limited amount of time here, but this just absolutely, I thought, deserved our attention. Here's Natasha Berstrand, now known as Fusion Natasha. Why? Because she will publish anything that Fusion GPS asks her to. Listen to her on MSNBC discussing this hoax just a few years ago.
I mean, what more evidence do you need? It's very, very obvious, and it's really Occam's razor here. The fact that we still have not been able to rule out the idea that this was a covert communication channel 2 years after the fact that no one has come forth with a plausible explanation for why this was happening, for why Alfa Bank was one of 3 organizations communicating with the Trump server in those months leading up to the election is just completely remarkable. And I think the fact that Frank's story got overlooked or criticized as much as it did, and the fact that now it's being revisited and you have the editor of the New York Times saying that there, was a story there, just shows the lack of imagination.
So it's massive, right? It proves everything. What more evidence could you possibly need to know that a candidate for president was actually a secret, KGB plant by Vladimir Putin? Let's go to read from the actual indictment, shall we? On or about August 20th, 2016, Originator 1 emailed Tech Executive 1, Researcher 1, and Researcher 2, stating among many things that, wait, what is this? Even if we don't find what we were asked to found, even if we don't see the money flow and we don't see the content of some message saying, send the money here, Originator 1 then explained that it would be possible to fill out a sales form on 2 websites. Wait. You saying Russia's filling it out? Trump's filling it out? No. You're filling it out. Okay. Fake the other company's email address in each form and therefore cause them to, quote, appear to communicate with each other in DNS. He then concluded, if we can take this inference that we gain through this team exercise, then work to develop even an inference may be worthwhile. It's just not the case that you can rest assured that Hillary's opposition research and whatever professional government and investigative journalists are also digging up will find the same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, what does that mean? What are they talking about? I will tell you. They are discussing faking the data. They are discussing how to manipulate already existing systems that exist in the world on different websites, cause them to communicate with each other through their own input, right? Through their own actions, and then take that data back, which they knew from the start, by the way, was fake because obviously they were the ones doing it. But then use the data to say, hey, look at these communications, we need to investigate this. Folks, that is fraud. That is a lie. And if you think for a second that Michael Sussman, the lawyer at Perkins Coie, was the only one that knew that this was fake, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I'd love to sell you. Folks, understand the power dynamics here. I see a lot of people saying, well, Jack, why isn't Hillary indicted? Why aren't higher level people, John Podesta, et cetera, right? The power dynamics here are massive. Democrats don't get indicted in Washington, D.C. It just doesn't happen, right? This is a guy from one of the most powerful law firms in the country that is being indicted for this. That is a tectonic sea change in terms of what's going on here in Washington. Now, I absolutely believe that the DOJ is going to fight this every step of the way. I don't know what a jury's going to do, a DC jury, because of course we know that they are on his side. They probably all hate Trump and probably believe that he's actually a Russian spy, even though it's completely false. But go back, and Arthur Schwartz had a tweet up. And I think we can go back a little bit and understand what's going on here. Arthur Schwartz has a tweet up that's referring to a letter that Ratcliffe wrote to Lindsey Graham back in 2020. He said that there was Russian intelligence that they had received stating that it was the Russian assessment that Hillary and her campaign cooked up the entire Russia hoax as part of a scheme to deflect from Hillary's email server problems. That's what I've always said since 2016. Doesn't it seem like Hillary just said, I'm under investigation, let's get him under investigation? That's the genesis of Russiagate. For all those years, everything that this country was put through, the lies, the mass shooting at a congressional baseball game by a Russiagate supporter, it was all made up. It was made up from the start. It was intentional, and it was just a way to try to get back at Trump from a flailing, desperate candidate being propped up by a neoliberal ruling class establishment.